A new study is out showing kids today feel more pressured by their parents' high expectations and other demands, and that is feeding to a rise in perfectionism. Joining us now is pediatrician Dr. Alison Mitzner, who is the author of Calm and Confident Parenting: How to Care for Yourself and Your Kids Through Life's Chaos. Dr. Mitzner, welcome to Bloom.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, I have teenagers and college-age children, and it's just so competitive. What would you say are some of the causes driving teens and college kids to perfectionism?
hmm Yeah, so there's a study in 2019 that showed college kids are really having this increased tendency for perfectionism over the last couple decades. And there could be a lot of different reasons. One, like you said, parents, they're feeling more and more pressure from their parents, whether it's higher expectation or more criticism. And we're living in this competitive society, right? So not only is there pressure on the kids, but the parents themselves as well. And also with social media, right? We know for years kids are always feeling and that they're being compared to others and others that they know. Where now with social media, they're compared to strangers, which really adds to that unrealistic expectation. And all this pressure and increased tendency for perfectionism can really lead to stress and anxiety and even depression in these kids.
Yeah, I was just having a conversation with my 16-year-old in the car, and I very calmly, in this very same voice, said to her, I said, hey, what are we doing about this summer and getting volunteer hours? And, are you signed up for, your workshops for that, she's a wrestler. And so I'm asking her just questions in a very calm voice, and her sweet little eyes filled up with tears. And, I realized then, like, she's already feeling the pressure, and just merely me asking was only adding to it. And so I think I didn't realize that she was carrying around so much anxiety, dealing with juggling so much in life. So how do we as parents know?
Yeah. I mean, that's great that you were talking to her, because I feel like even early on, these talking to your kids and letting them know that the communication is open really helps, and it helps them learn to express their emotions in healthy ways, and helps decrease that stress and anxiety, right? So there's things that you can look for that you might feel as an adult, but they might have some change in sleep habits or change in diet, or they might not be participating in school as much. And for these older kids, we know, actually, when you said she got teary-eyed, kids really count on their parents. Most kids, when they have things that come up or stress in their life, they want their parents to talk to. So knowing that they have that can really help decrease that stress and anxiety.
Yeah, and this is a child who's very type A, and on the surface, it looks like she's got it all figured out. So you can't always judge a book by its cover when you're dealing with your child, because they might be bearing their stress.
Right. And that's why early on, the way that you handle their stress, they'll watch, or we're their biggest role models, and really keeping that communication, even a daily, if you try and talk to them just for a few minutes every day to what's going on and letting them know, so they start to really open up and communicate. And some kids, it's harder than others. I've seen that in my own kids, but once you start, they'll really start to open up knowing, and they learn to really express their emotions pretty well.
Now, what about the college student where you don't have that day-to-day interaction? I mean, I try to connect with them via text or a quick phone call, but how do you help them manage stress?
Mm-hmm. You want to, I mean, you do want to encourage them. And my number one is sleep. That's like near impossible in college kids or teens, but really the importance of them getting their sleep, make sure they're moving. Exercise really helps with stress and anxiety. Teens especially do well with routine. So having them make sure they stay in a routine, knowing what's expected really helps. They feel much more in control. So just if they can get on a set routine, and we saw that a lot even during the pandemic, right? It can add to stress and anxiety if they're not. So you can try and add those things into their life as well.
We have just under a minute left, but any quick tips on how to teach them early some self-confidence skills?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. That's another thing. You really want them to know it's not the end performance, the peak performance, but the importance of their well-being. So motivate them, recognize with positive reinforcement, praise their efforts. And that's something too, as they're even in early childhood, things that they're working on, just make a note of that and acknowledge their efforts. And they really learn that self-confidence more than just that need for perfection.
Well, Doctor, thank you so much for joining us on Bloom. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
And to find out more about Dr. Mitzner and her book, Calm and Confident Parenting, just head to WFLA.com/Bloom, and we'll be back with more Bloom right after this.